like this until the time that the dean signs it. It's just an uneasy process. So today's presentation is me going to be doing my best to try to remove as much of that unease as possible. So Carla, thank you for sharing that with us, and hopefully you're welcome, Sunny. So hopefully this helps out quite a bit today.
Yes, and thank you so much just for even having this for people who are coming up to even be able to get the opportunity to hear from folks that look like you, sound like you, had some of your own personal life experiences, and still persevering and not just growing, but thriving. And
Yes.
so just to know, just to hear the voice, just to see the faces, that is very empowering,
Yeah.
very empowering.
Yep.
So
You're
thank you
welcome.
guys for just offering and giving back. Because this is kind of a give back situation, and not everybody reaches back, right? A lot of people, they get theirs and they do what they do and they run ahead and they don't turn around and look.
Yes. All right,
You
Russell.
know?
So I'm done stealing
No,
your
we're not.
show.
We're not ready yet. We're not ready yet, Dr. Johnson.
I
Stop.
know, that's what you heard me say. I'm done stealing your show. It is 1 minute beforehand, and I learned my lesson last time. So I'm gonna take a step back until you tell me to go.
Yeah, we just want to give a couple of people, some more people coming in, because people start coming in just around this time. So, Ms. Carla, just to give you an idea as to who we are, the group was started for the very reason that you just mentioned, which is a group of us got together during residency and we talked about the struggles that we would have as individuals and how we can form a community with the goal of helping more minority students. We target minority students, but all are welcome, helping more students achieve the goals that they set. And this, you're correct. This is our way of paying it forward.
I'm grateful.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to allow some individuals to come in, but in the meantime, what we'd like to do is we'd like to introduce our fearless leader of the African American Doctoral Support Group, Dr. Terila Johnson. And Dr. Johnson has been our advisor, and she has really made a huge difference for us as a group in terms of giving us honest feedback and some good, strong guidance as to what we can do to help our colleagues and peers. So Dr. Johnson, again, is a faculty manager, a dissertation chair, and an academic reviewer at Grand Canyon University. Our topic today will be accepting feedback and interpreting of expectations of feedback while working with and changing chairs as deemed necessary. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Johnson. And Dr. Johnson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you guys see the actual presentation or the slideshow part?
Slideshow.
Okay.
No, the actual, there's the complete slide.
Okay, hang on. Let me swap screens just a second. That's what I had a feeling you guys could see. So let me try again.
They could not see your notes.
Okay.
Right.
Let's try again.
Now they can see your notes.
Can you still see the notes?
Well, you're seeing the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're seeing the screen. You had it on the right one a minute ago.
Right. Go to slides.
Hang
Yeah.
on. How about now?
Yes.
All
That's
right.
it.
I just had to swap screens.
Yes.
All right. So a couple of things here. Leadership teams. Since the last time you guys talked to me, I was promoted. So I'm no longer a faculty manager. I am an assistant program chair, dissertations. Can't say a whole lot has changed. I am still chasing myself. It's just more formal now.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So this is who I am now. And a couple of other pieces of information because folks have been getting on me. My name is actually pronounced Terila. Folks are like, why don't you correct people? And I'm like, I'm used to it. Well, get unused to it. So you put my pronunciation in there now. So I am Dr. Terila Johnson. Just for a brief moment here, I want to just kind of talk to you about who I am. So I'm not just staff here at GCU. I'm actually alum. I got my doctorate here. So the things that you guys are enduring, starting classes, starting a program, going through residencies, getting feedback, getting committee changes, being unhappy, all of those things, I have been through it. And not only have I been through it, but for 9 years of my time here at GCU, I am in fact in direct communication with learners, faculty, and leadership when committee changes have to happen. So what I have here in front of you is my first attempt to get out of my head what this actually looks like. I am not thin-skinned. I learn along with the people that I actually lead. So if you see some things on the presentation that you think could be tweaked, because I do plan on presenting this to other students in other spaces, I have also been asked to flip this around to where it can be given out to our faculty members as well. So if you see anything in there, this is a professional development group. And so I am here for professional development as well. All right, so this little model you see here on the left, this model is about 7 years old. And I keep saying that I need to tweak it because I feel like something is missing in it, but I can't figure out what that is as of yet. So we'll just leave this here for now. How many of you go to the chat and put in whether or not you have ever heard this is an iterative process? And did you get frustrated about somebody telling you it's an iterative process? Or are you still like, what does that even mean? And why does it matter? I would love to hear about that because in sharing what iterative process actually means, I'd like to unpack that a little bit more in future presentations, and then also to give you some ways to navigate through that. I am a design thinker. One of my theoretical foundations in my dissertation was design thinking. I fell in love with the model before I actually graduated, and I apply it actively to what I do every single day. And so this is my effort to give some design thinking about taking in feedback, interpreting feedback, and how you can move and navigate and even thrive through that if you have to have some sort of committee change. The dissertation is not a one and done thing. So I hear things like my paper. I love y'all, but please stop using that language. It is not a paper. It's not. It's a living document. And by living, what we mean is that thing is going to change, evolve, develop, shift, and morph until the day the dean signs it. And for those that are here who have been through defenses, especially towards the end of it, there are always some things that you'll be able to see that you could have done differently. I happen to be on the floor. Carla was just mentioning that she watched a presentation of mine. So my dissertation is consistently called to the carpet in some way, shape, or form. So I have to open it, and I can always see something that I could have done better in it. Iteration in the sense of a dissertation is cyclical. And if anybody knows anything about cycles, they're not always fun. Cycles can put you right back at square one. And when you go back to square one, if you're not different when you land back at square one, that cycle can feel like you're never making any movement. So in this cyclical time that you're moving in iterations, notice that the lines around the outside are consistently going around, because that's what you're consistently doing. You're consistently drafting, you're consistently writing, you are consistently reviewing, you are consistently revising, and in the midst of all that, you're constantly reflecting. Notice I'm not saying your chair is consistently reviewing, I'm saying you. So one of the things that we need to realize when we open up our templates and when you look at the columns that are in the rubric criteria, the first column in there on the first left says learner. So you are your first level of peer review. I want you to take that and write that down. And the more you become better at becoming your own peer reviewer, the better you get at moving through these cycles. So I've told the story before. I continue to do it to this day as a writer. But when I write, I get it out and then I put it down. I don't come back and look at it for at least 48 hours. There's something about this 48-hour cycle where when you come back in it, you can look at it with a fresh set of eyes and you yourself become your own peer reviewer and you can tweak. And that enables you to have a more peer-to-peer like conversation with your committee. I also want to help you all not look at the fact that when you get feedback and it comes back to you and your committee says that you need to make some changes, that it's a setback, it's actually progress. So you have to be able to see, was there any movement at all? One of the things that I coach students through, and I also coach faculty through, is this, what I would call a sandwich, thinking about what was done well, what was done not so well. And in the middle of that, what was done well and what was done not so well, what needs to be improved, how and why. That's all learner. Our job as faculty is to facilitate that entire process so that you can get better at that and do it on your own. Over time, I've talked about what I call feedback weariness. Undue weariness that the learner puts on themselves because they're ineffective in how they actually revise and how they actually interpret feedback. When you get feedback, that means that you're moving closer. Feedback is supposed to clear up things for you. It's not supposed to make it muddier. It's supposed to clear it up for you. And if it gets muddy, it's either you that's making it muddy, learner, or your faculty, or a combination of you and your faculty that are making it muddy. And then the last one is stay engaged. You have to stay engaged with your chair and your committee. Now, when I stay engaged, this does not mean meeting with your chair every week. If you have to meet with your chair that frequently, something's off. Because the entire thing about getting a doctorate is it's a pedagogical process. So I believe that God allows you to go through things and nothing is wasted. I told the story how I started in secondary education as a master's degree. And secondary education, that's pedagogy, meaning the teacher directs it, the student learns. Andragogy in adult learning, same process. The only difference is the adult is self-directed. In doctoral education, it's pedagogical, meaning it's highly independent, highly autonomous, and self-directed. And so the more you can get better in those three areas, then you begin to move forward. All right. So really quickly, this is just a snippet of some articles, two of which that I used in my dissertation, but also I became aware of these because I had to present at an academic conference with a peer in 2017. And we went to present on our job. And I will tell you, it had global presence. And they walked away from our presentation. Because at GCU, there's a high level of accountability for both faculty and learners. And in most other institutions, faculty members kind of do what they want to do. So the whole idea that someone's kind of peeking in and telling you how you can get better at your role, whether you're on the learner side or the faculty side, was kind of unnerving for them. And again, this was global presence. So we didn't get a lot of people that kind of stuck around to hear what we were talking about. But these two articles stuck out to me during that time. And notice I said 2017. This was before I graduated. These two articles stuck out to me because I walked away with a different understanding of what feedback actually is. A student, in a very snarky way, asked me about 2 years ago, Dr. Johnson, why do I need a chair? And my answer to that particular student was, our job is to train you on how to become a doctor. You can't do it without a chair. You need your chair, right? You've never written a single piece of independent scholarship before. You need somebody who has been through that to walk you through that. So that's the purpose of it. So essentially, your chair is like your trainer, right? They're training you on what it means to become a doctorate through feedback. Feedback is not just about fixing what you wrote. It helps you transition into independent scholarship. So another thing that you'll hear us say around here at GCU, you go from learner to independent scholar to novice researcher. That's where you're supposed to be going. Novice researcher in the sense that this should be the first time for most of us that we've ever gone through putting together a piece of research, actually doing it, and then speaking on what we did. Does that make sense? So I want to kind of pause. There's 2 times during your journey where you'll have to speak through it, and that is at proposal level and dissertation level. Proposal, you're actually going to help your listeners, which is your chair, your methodologist, and your content expert. You're going to help them understand whether you can actually do what you wrote. So do you have a logical understanding of this is what I've proposed? So can I tell you how I'm going to do this, right? At dissertation, now you're going to tell us about what you actually did. How did you collect that data? Tell us about the people you collected the data on, right? What was your analysis like? Did you hit any bumps in the road? How did you overcome those bumps in the road? What were your results? What were your findings? And how does this, what you found in your study, compare and contrast with what was in previous research? So that's the dissertation defense, all right? Here's another thing that became realistic for me. This article was actually written in 2014. And if you look at this bottom bullet, at times there's going to be a mismatch between your style, so who you are, how you take things in, how you receive things, how you learn, how you communicate, how you read, all of these things, and your chair's approach, right? So this is in the literature. This is not a GCU specific thing. So Carla, I don't mean to pick on you, but folks that had those not so great stories, it's not just a GCU thing. I have worked at multiple institutions in doctoral education, and these things occur everywhere. It's been like this. When you got a bunch of people in a particular process that's already difficult as is, bumps in the road are going to happen. All right. So I hear the horror stories of, if I have to change my committee, I'm going to have to start over. No, you don't. So here's a couple of tidbits for everybody, beginning to end. If it's aligned, if it's doable, if it's feasible, there should be no reason why you are going through major changes. But I'm going to add another thing to this. Is what you wrote readable? Can the person reading what you put together understand the logic and where you're going? So I'll give you an example. If you're proposing a qualitative study, but you use all of this quantitative language, relationship between, all that other stuff, that doesn't really tell your reader where you're going and what you're doing. It actually creates confusion. So if you should happen to have to go through a committee change, the first thing you need to do is acknowledge the shift. So one of the things that I have to do when change has happened that I did not expect or I didn't want, or a combination of I didn't want it and I didn't expect it, is I have to get somewhere and I have to assess my own feelings and that. So whatever you need to do to emotionally regulate, you need to do that. But emotional regulation under situational stress is different, especially when you've never been through something before. So if you add on the fact that you've never gotten a doctorate before, and now I don't know what's going to happen going from here, I have to get used to a different chair, a different methodologist, right? Sometimes content expert changes, that adds on some stress. In acknowledging the shift, you also need to recognize that these faculty members are also human beings as well. And just like you have a voice, they have a voice. So I'm going to tell you guys a real story. I had a very amazing methodologist and chair when I first started. They were amazing. The problem is how they were approaching things did not fit how I could take it in. So it wasn't working. They weren't doing anything wrong. I wasn't doing anything wrong. What I needed and how they were bringing it, it was like sandpaper on sandpaper. So I had to get a whole new committee. Remember, I said I've been doing this since 2014. So when I started my research faculty manager role in 2016. I was in dissertation in 2017. And by the latter part of 2017, early 2018, I was getting a committee change. So by this time, I have looked at a ton of proposals, dissertations, prospectuses. I've talked to a lot of students. I've talked to a lot of faculty members. And now here I am in this spot. My new chair comes in and she's like, give me your proposal. And I had it written. I gave it to her. She comes back and says, I think we need to go back to chapter 1. Now, my professional head was like, that's not a good thing if she's pulling me backwards. It's not a good thing. So we focus on chapter 1. She reviews chapter 1. Now she's pulling me back to sections. And I'm like, okay. Pause. Because if she's pulling me back, something's not feasible, doable. See where I'm going? Aligned. And it wasn't readable. Something's going on, so I got to stop. And when I stopped, I immediately got frustrated with her. Like immediately, my frustration went out to her. I paused, I put it down. I don't go back to her feedback for a couple of days. And when I come back, it hits me. She's saying the exact same thing my previous chair was saying. She's just saying it her way. It was the same thing that I was seeing in all the other prospectuses and proposals that I was seeing across the board. So I had to take a step back and learn her voice, right? All right, looking for patterns, right? So in this, qualitative folks, pattern recognition is a skill that we all have to have. This doesn't just start when we collect data and analyze data. It starts well before that. Quantitative folks, you also need to have this same skill set as well, because you have to understand patterns in the folks that you're engaging. But in chapter 2, everybody has to do a review of the literature, find out what is known and what is not known. So we have to look at patterns in previous studies so that we can actually justify why we're doing the study that we're doing, right? So looking at this, I often say to people that if you are facing the same circumstance and different people are giving you similar feedback, the common denominator in those equations is you. So you got to take a step back and see what is it that they're saying, right? So this doesn't just happen when you're getting a committee change. You have a 3-person committee. You have a chair, a methodologist, and a content expert. So you need in that situation to be able to understand, what are they all saying the same? Is there any differences in what they're saying? And how different is it? How can you still pull it back together where they all become on the same page? So in design thinking research, one of the mindsets and temperaments that we must have is a tolerance for ambiguity. I also found this in the research that researchers need to have the same thing as well. So we need to have a tolerance for ambiguous situations, things that are unclear. And when things aren't clear, it just makes things shaky. Your emotions are going to come with it. All right. The next thing that you need to do, whether you stay with your same committee or you get a different committee, is seek clarification. I say this to my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and my doctoral students all the time. The question you ask me begets the answer you're going to get. So if you ask me a wonky question, you're going to get a wonky answer. Just is what it is, right? So here is how you can move through asking those questions. First, sit down and assess, what do you understand about that feedback? Then sit down and assess, what don't you understand about that feedback? And then for yourself, you need to try to figure out how you're going to fill in that gap so that you can tell your faculty members, this is what I understood. This is what I did not understand. I would even pause somewhere in there and ask for things like, am I moving in the right direction? Right? Based on what you gave me, I think I understand this. Am I moving in the right direction? And let them tell you. In that, you can assess whether they're telling you the same thing based on what you thought you did not understand, or does it add to it? And just know, if it adds to it, that can make you uneasy as well. Then you can tell your faculty members what you did to fill in those gaps. And then you ask them, is there any other resources? What can I do to make these adjustments? Because again, our job is to facilitate you becoming an independent scholar. All right, stay professional and flexible. Now, I have a phrase. I call some students pleasantly frustrated. And here's another thing. Nice is not always good. Love y'all. Some folks think that if they patched incivility in a nice package, it's still not incivility. And incivility is just incivility, no matter how nice you frame it. If you're being uncivil, it can come out nicely and it needs to be redirected. You don't want to be in a situation where your chair, your methodologist, content expert, or a combination of them is consistently having to bring you back to where you're supposed to be. So make sure you stay professional. If you're the type of person that goes from 0 to 100 in split seconds, because some of us are, right? You might need to take a break from some things, right? But you can't stay so detached from it for so long where you're not getting where you need to get to. All right. And then document and track progress. So another hard thing that I had to do, my chair told me to do something several times via Zoom. These were 2-hour+ Zoom conversations that we had. By the fourth one, she was pretty frustrated, and her frustration came out. It was not a great moment for either one of us. And guess who had to go back and watch 8 hours+ worth of Zoom conferences to tease out? Yeah, she did tell me that like 4 times. The problem with it was it was sandwiched in so many other things that I did not discern. She was actually telling me I needed to do something. And so we came up with a way to be able to move that forward. And I'll give you something actionable here in a minute. All right. So what you see here on this particular slide is a screenshot of a table that I got from one of the articles. If I'm not mistaken, hang on. It may be Cannon Walker that I got it from. I'll have to go back and look. But basically, they did a study and they used linguistics as their theoretical foundation. And they took a bunch of dissertation proposals, just anything that had to be related to writing with dissertation, and feedback from faculty members. These were for PhD students, and they pulled out all the feedback and they did a thematic analysis of this feedback. And what they came up with is that feedback can either be referential, directive, or expressive. So look at this like a mini code book, qual people. It's basically like a little miniature code book. You'll see some major themes on the left, and then in the middle, some sub themes or perhaps categories. But in that referential feedback, feedback can either be editorial, meaning there's some formatting, structure, organizational issues, right? Organization, putting content in the wrong places, things that are content. Under directive, it can either be suggestion, question, or instruction. And another expression, praise, criticism, or opinion. I discovered this in 2017. I remember because I have it, I had it printed out sitting next to me. And I realized that organization feedback frustrated me. Question and suggestion or feedback, that frustrated me as well. And then if I got too much praise, I was like, I can't be this great. I'm learning. Something must be wrong. But if I got too much criticism, I felt like an absolute failure. And then opinion type feedback also frustrated me because I didn't know what to do with it. So they took some actual statements from feedback. So that what you see here, these are excerpts from the content on the right side, right? So I'm going to take this a step further. I've been at GCU for 11 years, 9 in this space where I am actively engaging learners, faculty members. So I'm going to give you the entirety of my role. I am alum. I am a chair. I am a content expert. I am a research consultant, and I am the individual that gets in the middle of problems that occur in dissertations. So I see all of this. So earlier today, I said, you know what, maybe this is just me. So I reached out to some other folks who do some similar things. And I said, is it just me? Or have you seen these 4 types of voices in feedback? The Socratic voice, feedback in the form of guiding questions that make you think more critically about your work. I see this a lot. If you have no idea what you're doing and your feedback is overly Socratic, I've heard students call it vague. My feedback is vague. I don't understand what to do with it. Detailed feedback. This is the type of feedback that explains the issue and often provides an example or a model to follow. Great feedback, but if you still don't understand the issue at hand or how to overcome the issue at hand, this feedback can also be a little too much. Direct feedback, feedback that tells you what is wrong or what to fix without any additional explanation. Just fix it, right? And then there's actionable feedback, feedback that tells you what you did well, what needs to be revised, how you need to revise it, why this change makes a difference. I'm going to come back here. Opinion, feedback, suggestion, feedback. I will never forget my chair. She didn't say maybe this is not necessary, but she said something along those lines. And this was me. She knows more than I do. So if I take this out, what's going to happen to the rest of the document? Now I'm uneasy. You see where I'm going? I'm frustrated. I'm confused. I don't want to ask her questions because I don't want to seem like I'm stupid. All of this stuff is just kind of running through me all at one time, right? So why the change matters, okay? It's straightforward. You usually get in a complete sentence and it's easy to understand, okay? That is what we would consider actionable feedback. I have seen a combination of all of these and it still causes frustration. It still has positive and negative implications on communication. All of it does. All right. So I spent the last hour and a half or so. So this is me design thinking. So this is where feedback for me is going to come in handy, because what I tried to do was to put together a table. And that way, if Russell and Rochelle, Russell's smiling, and Gwen and Vicky, if they invite me back to talk again, I want them, this is their cue, to be able to tell me, Dr. Johnson, this was great. here are some things that we can do to improve on this going forward. Because you guys are having these study sessions on Thursdays, and I love it because that is an excellent place for you to be able to get some of those feelings out. And when you come back to your committee, you look like you did it independently, but you actually got support. So this is great. All right. So here is what I did. The Socratic feedback in each category, I put a comment of sorts in there. The detailed person, the direct person, the actionable person. And we got, good job, Dr. Johnson. It is 4:33. I was intending to get here really, really quickly. So I want to take about 5 minutes, and it does not have to be perfect or any standard way, but I want you to go to the chat. If you're still in your content courses, that's fine. You're still getting feedback. That's okay. You're in first class, you're getting feedback. Second class, you're getting feedback. Third class, you're getting feedback. Somebody's getting feedback. What I want you to do is go to the chat, and I want you to talk to me because, again, I want to be able to take this back to our leaders and our faculty members and say, this is what some of our students are actually saying. What are you experiencing? Are you getting a lot of Socratic feedback? How does that make you feel? Are you able to do something with it? And again, your responses in the chat, don't be perfect, because I know doctoral students don't sit there like it's a dissertation or a paper. Just get your thoughts out, save space, and put them in the chat. I happen to know 2 of the leaders are still in their program. So if you want to give your voice here, great. Otherwise, leaders, I want you to grab some of that data that we have in the chat. Just get them in a document, and we'll talk about how we're going to use them at a later date. But just grab that data for me. For those of you who are here and you're putting things in the chat, cue the leaders. If you're talking about Socratic, say it. If you're talking about detail, say it. If you're talking about editorial, say it. See where I'm going? Give them something. Be very explicit. I see a lot I received all 4. Okay. iPhone 2, I like how you mentioned methodology. When you get this feedback, is it more about your actual methodology? And when I say your methodology, like your actual, are you doing quant, qual, which design you're using, how you're collecting the data, things like that. Be a little more specific. Okay, methodologist. Okay. Okay. So my all 4 folks, usually when you are getting all 4 types of feedback and it keeps shifting around, just so you know, we are trying to figure out what works well for you and what doesn't, especially for those of us who have multiple students. So I'll hear sometimes, my feedback keeps changing. That is because your chair and your methodologist or your content expert are trying to figure out ways to give you the feedback in a way where you actually get it. So they're kind of thinking on their feet, which is not necessarily the worst thing in the world. But if you find that you are start getting one more than the other, then that means that your faculty members are starting to figure out what's working well for you. But if you get one, like from the beginning, and it just stays Socratic, that is usually their way of getting feedback, giving feedback.
Oh.
All right. So I'm going to park here for just a little bit more, and I want to talk about the Socratic approach. So the hard part about getting Socratic feedback is that when your skill set is low on certain areas, when you're trying to do this, Socratic feedback will be very ineffective because you won't know how to actually do anything with it. So I'll take up here, which I tinkered around with this comment several times. Let's go to the editorial one. How does this formatting choice affect the professionalism of your proposal? Well, it depends on where the comment is actually put at. And when they say this, that's unclear. What do you mean by this? So that would be unclear, right? My chair one time wrapped a comment on the header of a section, and I didn't know what to do with that. I was like, is she telling me to change the header or something in the content? So the location of the content was a little hard to get through. So what I would do is I would put my feedback in buckets. Green meant, okay, I can address this. I know what I'm doing. I got it. Yellow would be, I don't know. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Red is, I have absolutely no clue on what to do with this. And again, with the reds and the yellows, I would do my best first to try to figure out what I understand, what don't I understand, and try to fill in the gaps. So when it says formatting, I immediately, my head would go into, is she talking about APA formatting? Is she talking about the structure of the sentence? Is she talking about a table? Things like that. So I would begin to try to think what I think she was talking about. Let's move into organization. Does this paragraph belong in this section, or would it be stronger elsewhere? That would seem unclear, but if you were to go back and read your feedback, read the paragraph. Let's say, for example, you're talking about your sample and it's in the methodology section. That's critical thinking, just taking a step back and looking and saying, you know what I mean? Based on what I'm talking about in this paragraph, it might be better off somewhere else. And again, not just, I'm going to move it. She said this, so I just moved it, right? Again, what do I understand? What I don't understand, how I filled in the gaps, and then moving forward from there. This is one I see quite a bit. What evidence can you add to support this claim? Well, an argument is made up of three things. You make the argument. So Russell has on a black jacket. I am making the argument. Russell has on a black jacket. What evidence do I have that Russell has on a black jacket? Well, that's a little hard to say because all I've ever known, based on the color I see in his jacket, is that has always been black, right? But that doesn't work in writing. It can't be just based on what I know. You see where I'm going? So now you got to take a step back and just ask. If they say evidence, they're usually asking, can you support this with an article, right? Then once you make the claim, you have to warrant the claim. I just gave y'all something. Make the argument, then make a claim that supports the argument, and then you warrant the claim. So Russell has on a black jacket. That is my argument. According to so-and-so and so-and-so and so, black looks like this. Now here's some more evidence, not just this person, but this person in this other article says the same thing, right? That is how you get through Socratic. Does this section help answer your research question? Well, that would depend on where that particular Socratic question will come in at. But if you're frustrated with Socratic feedback, remember Socratic feedback is designed to help you think. In other words, your faculty members are not going to tell you what to do. They're pushing you to think through that on your own. Okay. Let's move over here to the detailed person. APA does not, and then they give an example. This paragraph belongs in the literature review section. They're telling the person what to do, but I would admonish you to not just move it because that's what they told you to do. See where I'm going? That is not autonomous. That is not independent thinking. That is just doing what you're told, which I'm going to tell you does not work. Because eventually, if you just keep doing what somebody's telling you to do, then when you're not moving, your movement is now somebody else's fault, according to you, but you never thought about what they told you to do, right? So if they say it belongs in a literature review section, take a step back and consider why they're saying that. And if you cannot figure out why, make that a part of the conversation with your chair. Help me understand why. Okay. This statement needs more peer-reviewed sources. For example, studies within the last 5 years. Okay, that's very detailed. Let's go over to the direct, folks. Add citation. How many of you have ever seen that? Just add a citation. But for what? Right? So instead of asking, what am I adding a citation for? You have to look at where that sentence is actually situated, why you put it there, right? And look at the argument that you were trying to make. And that's what you use. The citation is just that evidence. It could also be too that your chair or your methodologist, because as a chair, we know your voice. We're seeing your writing all the time. So we can tell when it was your thinking and whether it came from somewhere else. So sometimes add a citation just means that came from somewhere else. Please make sure that you give us the evidence for that. All right, so let's move over to this actionable one. I'm going to come down to criticism. Remove this table. It repeats information you already explained and it distracts from your analysis. I would intentionally put that one there because in chapter 4, you got to use a lot of tables. And where to put the table, sometimes you put too many tables and sometimes tables can become redundant. So again, understanding what you put the table in there for and why you're doing it. But again, keep that same mindset. What do you understand? What don't you understand? Do your due diligence to fill in the gaps. And then if things are still not clear based on feedback, you ask for help on how they can facilitate you developing a better understanding. All right. So this is a real situation. Remember when I talked about how my chair and we had a moment. We did. I didn't think we would be able to move forward together, to be perfectly honest. It got that bad. But we were able to. I borrowed from my own personal experiences. I tell people all the time that I should have an honorary doctorate in dealing with difficult people, both personally and professionally. I'm going to leave that right there, but I have a lifetime of dealing with difficult people. And difficult people can come your way for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's all feels. Sometimes they just don't know what they're talking about or know what they're doing. Like they can come in all different directions. But in this, I honored myself. I took a step back and I tapped into my core values. Relationships are important to me. It doesn't matter if I've spent 1 minute with you, if I'm going to spend 5 years with you, whatever the case may be. For me, a relationship is very important to me. It's high up on my list. And so because of that, I know that when dissension happens in relationships, and now I'm thinking about the theory of moral sentiments by Adam Smith. And what he talks about is that, let's say, for example, Russell and I know we have a person we know in common. Russell really likes this person, but I don't. I don't like this person at all. And I come to Russell and I come tell Russell about something this person did to frustrate me. Russell likes the person. I don't. So Russell's not going to agree with me emotionally. That's a dissonance in feeling. And it happens. And so when you're in that type of circumstance, the first thing you need to do is figure out, where can we agree? We both agreed at the time that I needed to graduate because I was driving her crazy and she was driving me crazy. We both agreed on that. But the heart of the problem is that she had told me to do something 4 times via Zoom. And I had no idea what she was talking about. So what did I do? I went back and I watched those Zooms. I sat for 8.5 hours and I watched those Zooms. And she did. She had told me to do something 4 times. And it had cost me an entire class. And she was frustrated because as chairs, we're just as much a part of this process as you are. We're in it. So I found those spaces and I agree with her. Those things did need to change. The next thing that I did is communication. I drafted up an email and I first acknowledged who she was and everything that she had done for me. I acknowledged that first. I wouldn't have gotten to that point without her. And then where the rubber met the road was the issue at hand. And I told her I watched it and I agreed. But when I got to that point, I remember being very frustrated and quite frankly upset to the point of tears because I felt like I was losing myself. Because if I kept moving only in the direction that she needed me to go, I was accommodating her and my needs as a learner was not being met. Here I'm getting passionate again, right? So that's where our difference was. And if we were going to move together, we needed to be on a win-win. See where I'm going? So in that, I held myself accountable, but I asked for a conversation so that we can have some mutual accountability or joint accountability. I sent her the email. My chair had never responded to me that quickly because she was super busy. And when I tell you she had never responded that quickly, it was within minutes. Let's schedule a Zoom. And I knew we were on the same page. I modeled the same thing when we got in the Zoom. When we got to the point where she felt like her needs were going to be met, she was like, oh, let's move on. I was like, nope, there's the power dynamic. You're the chair and I'm the learner. No. We still have to touch the parts that I need. And I didn't get grumpy or anything like that. And we came to a mutual agreement so that we both could walk away feeling like we did not lose ourselves. Okay. And this is where I want to kind of move into who GCU is. There is this myth in Americanized Christianity that accountability is not a part of the Bible. And that's not true at all. Jesus is big on accountability on all sides. There is no such thing as Christian superiority. I'm a child of God. I can act like I want. No, we are not reading the same Bible and we are not serving the same God if that's what you believe. To be Christ-like is to be civil under all circumstances. Scripture from beginning to end is full of this. And if you are here at GCU, this is our way, the way of Jesus. This is how we do things. Now, that doesn't mean as human beings we get it right all the time. We don't. If you want to see how people are not getting it right, please read Paul's letters. Stuff was going down in those churches on a consistent basis. And so if you want to see how when you're moving towards a certain direction together, how things can get messy when you pull a bunch of humans together, the letters are perfect. All right. I am here quoting one book and one article. It was a while back, but Dr. Berger, I think it was at Carnegie Foundation, The Formation of Scholars. It was a book. I read it. And then I went out and I did some more reading, and someone had written an article from a Christ-centered perspective about the formation of scholars. And I thought it was marvelous to see this. Now, mind y'all, I read that book in 2016, and I read the article in 2016, and I kept it. It's in a purple binder here on the floor. But I kept it. The Christian faith is communal and it requires connection. So we have a responsibility not only to each other, but to our committee members. And our committee members not only have a responsibility to each other, but to us as well, right? And so I've been telling people quite a bit lately, you need to learn how to steward the conflict. You need to be a good steward over conflict. If you believe, according to Romans 8:28, that all things work together for the good of those that love him and are called according to his purpose, all things, that even conflict can come in the middle of that. I've also been telling folks lately that we need to move away from trying to keep peace and learn how to make peace. And sometimes in order to make peace, we got to make conflict first. That means we got to say hard stuff. We got to do hard stuff. So this slide, that was me saying and doing something very hard to make peace. I got to make a little conflict in the best way possible first so that I can make peace. But in this, if you are a Christ follower and you believe that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, then even your dissertation journey and your dissertation belongs to him. You have a responsibility, right? So in all of this that's happening, feedback and everything else, you are developing character. And that's what this group is all about. So I have to put my leaders on a pedestal here for just a second because they exemplify this. They do. They do. I can leave them alone and they go take care of business and they handle it, but their heart is for you. And this slide is the heart of this group. It is not just about seeing somebody on the other side that looks like you. It's not, because we welcome all. You don't have to just be Black to just be here. And I'm saying this on purpose on the recording because I have been going out in other spaces and saying we welcome all students because we're going to come through this together, okay? But learning takes place in community. And I'm going to land down here with wisdom. I wanted to start up here first, but I'm going to land here and then I'm going to end us in prayer. Good job, Dr. Johnson. 5 minutes. I'm doing it. Wisdom, I'm going to say to everybody here as Christ followers, get in the habit of every day sitting down, reading a chapter out of Lamentations, a chapter out of Proverbs, a chapter out of the Psalms, a chapter out of the book of Job. Read a chapter a day in all of them. And what happens is that you come in with a different perspective. And the book of Ecclesiastes. Read them every day, not just one over the other. And what you see here when you do that is that wisdom comes in this very multifaceted type of way, and it opens you up to be able to see things a little bit different. But in this environment, we are in an intellectual community, and I want you to look at bullet number 2 on the right. An intellectual community should be broadly inclusive and diverse, along with several dimensions of difference. It must include people of broadly different experiences and backgrounds. And so I told my story about how I started with 9 institutions beforehand, and I landed here at GCU, and I say it to this day, that God opened this door for people like me and you. Because in traditional ways, we wouldn't have been able to get in the door. And so you must steward that opportunity much better. But we come in all different walks of life. Now I'm going to land down here on the last one. For those of you who are here and you've had some sort of negative experience with feedback from your chair, your methodologist, your content expert, forgive. Because more often than not, they are doing the absolute best that they can with what they have. Nobody is here trying to hold you back on purpose. Forgive and let that go. All right. So I'm going to take 1 minute to pray and then open the floor up. Father, we just thank you for the richness of your grace and your mercy. Thank you for this day, and thank you for each and every individual that you have brought here for this presentation today. Lord, I pray that each and every one of them, wherever they're at in their journey, God, that they would experience your grace and that they would understand that your grace is sufficient for them. Thank you for an opportunity to come and to share 11 years worth of wisdom in about an hour. I'm pretty sure there's more that I can divulge on, but I hope, God, that it helps them all move forward in one way or another and for the best. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Right.
Dr. Johnson.
Very welcome.
Absolutely. God has chosen you for the prophet of this time and this season, and I bless you so wholeheartedly. I humbly just bow to you and your knowledge, the wealth and the presentation that you've just given us is unsurpassable. I love you. I love you. I love you with Jesus' joy. Thank you.
You're welcome, Sonny. Don't make me
Okay,
shed
so
tears here. All
let's
right.
take a minute and open the floor up for questions. And while we're answering questions, if you have one, you can also put it in the chat so that I can pay attention to what's going on while Dr. Johnson is answering any questions that you have. So at this point, we'd like to open the floor up.
No questions at all? Oh,
I have a question.
hang on, Sonny. We got a
Okay.
hand.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Dr. Towell, floor is
Yeah,
yours.
yeah. I got a quick question. Um, in terms of this may seem kind of silly, but like say for example, like because I'm actually done. I actually recently finished my dissertation, and um it's just like why do committee members, sometimes they make it a little bit, hard for students. Like, for example, if you're writing academic paragraphs really well and you're using the meal plan right, committee members can still have like their scholarly opinions about how you're writing your dissertation. For example, it can be really very, very well written, but your research consultant, your content expert, even your methodology you check it, they can still have a couple of comments on them. So it's why is it, I know it seems kind of silly because I believe that the best dissertation is a done dissertation. So this is like, is that just kind of like the way it's operated? And how do we like because sometimes it's hard to be a Christian in this arena when it becomes challenging. You have other things in your life that's going on as well.
Yeah, I would say that our heart and goal in all of those all of those capacities is to help you put your best foot forward in whatever way possible. And so sometimes that does even mean with giving more advice on how to improve the writing on it. But you did it. Congratulations, because I believe the last time I was here, you were getting close to the end and you are done, right?
Yes.
Now, your second part about it being hard to be a Christian in those environments, I think I don't know, and this could be just my life experiences. I always felt like I could never get away with anything. Like there was always this higher expectation to push up just a little bit more, even under circumstances where I didn't think it would be necessary. So I'll leave you with this. God knows all. He does. And maybe in the moment, you don't understand why that little bit of a push was absolutely necessary, but God has this way later on somewhere else of showing you that. I would also say too, just based on listening to you, I think that what I'm also hearing is the emotional toll of the journey. So give yourself some time to rest. But the short answer, somebody's going to be asking you to change stuff until the dean signs it. It just, so short answer, yes, it kind of comes with it. Helpful?
Yeah, really helpful. Yes.
Sonny, you had your hand up, low.
Yeah, but if I could speak to that just a moment. Scripture says to everything there is a season and a time. God's time is not our time. And whatever he has for your future is for your future. You may not be able to see it. When you start on your journey, you don't know what the end's going to be, but he always acknowledges that you'll make it if you don't give up, if you faint not. And so we need to take our emotions and our self under advisement and just stay centered because the goal is not the end of the journey.
Yeah,
It
and I
is
would
just,
even, Sonny, I would even say to, I think a lot of times in Christianity, we have been told to stuff our feelings, and that's not true. We need
yeah,
to be able
exactly.
to acknowledge them. And so, Dr. Towell, I would even also say too, there is a book called The Cry of the Soul. It's by Dan Allender and Tremper Longman. I would say in your time of rest and healing from the hardship of the journey, because you do need to heal from it. Just and not
Yeah.
even going to lie. You're gonna need to heal from it because it's a hard and it's arduous. And so we don't want to take away from his openness
Oh, it's
and his
valid. Yeah,
transparent.
yeah.
Yeah. But you had your hand up before he had his question.
Yeah,
What
I
was
was you were talking about Socratic and some of the comments and the way they're posed to you, and I offer to you one of the challenges is when your chair is not from Grand Canyon
Mhm.
and they're adjunct, and so they don't really understand the ways of Grand Canyon. And every time you pose a question, they say, ask IRB or ask your cohort or check with the methodologist. The answer cannot come from them. And so I've understood that pretty early on. However, the challenge still remains that in order for me to move forward and understand what they're saying, I have to make a pivot to find the information that I need, which is not always forthcoming.
So that's a good one. Hang on. I'm writing that down. That's actually a good one. If the question at hand is template oriented, meaning that it is something that needs to be put in the content to move forward, the chair should definitely have an answer to that question. And if not, I'm going to say I'm GCU oriented and I still have to ask questions sometimes because sometimes I don't necessarily know how to ask the question. But if it is related to process related things like IRB, or is this ethical, or is this going to be, something where it's a vulnerable population, things like that, it is good for them to direct you where you need to go. But I would also say, Sonny, too, if you are experiencing situations where you can't get any answers from your chair, please reach out to your student services counselor to talk about how you can be supported. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Demetria, I see your hand. Uh-oh. Russell, you going to cut me? Or were
No, I
you?
was going to say the same thing you're saying.
Okay. Demetria, your hand's up.
Good evening. My apologies for late arrival. The feedback was exactly where I am to understand what I need to do as a doctoral learner, and a novice researcher. My question is related to the book you reference on the scholar, the vocation of a Christian scholar. Is that the right book by Richard T. Hughes that you reference?
No, ma'am. It is, the book is called The Formation of Scholars,
Okay.
the first one. But that one is not Christian. There was an article written after that. Did I reference it? Hold on.
You said it was written, the article was written related to this book.
Hang tight. Russell, can you shoot me a quick email so I can make sure we can get Demetria the link to that article? I just can't remember it off the top of my head right now, Demetria, but I'll get it to
No
you.
worries. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Demetria,
Yes.
if you can put an email so that I can have it sent to you.
Okay.
Put it in the chat.
Typing it now. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
And then the second reference in those two slides, that one is character formation and the Proverbs, where what I did is I synthesized some of the arguments that were made in that article about the formation of scholars from a Christian perspective, and some of the ideas in the book by David Blend, which you're not going to be able to work through that book very quickly because it really does put it flips some things over in you in terms of your faith. Let's just put it that way. Not in a bad way, but in a good way. It makes you kind of rethink how you're approaching things. But I'll make sure you get that.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Russell, did I miss any hands?
No, I'm not seeing any other hands.
Let's see, I'm looking at the comments. Nope, I'm not seeing anything. Well, I'm here if y'all need me.
Okay, well, if there are no other questions, I just want to say first and foremost, thank you to Dr. Johnson for another thought-provoking, excellent presentation where it gives us some action items to take away and help us move to beyond that independent researcher and beyond that novice researcher, because these are tools that we're going to need as we go into doing articles and continuing doing individual research. So from that perspective, I want to say thank you to Dr. Johnson, and we look forward to continuing working with us as a group. What I'd like to also add is I am putting in the chat, I just put the link to our web app. And what we would like to do is encourage all individuals who are not members of the group to go on to the web app and complete the application. There are benefits to the group where if you're a member of the group, then all of our former videos on our topics, they are all in the app, but they're accessible to members only. And as Dr. Johnson mentioned earlier, all individuals are welcome to join the group. So we look forward to anyone needing assistance from us to join us. One of the other things I'd like to say is our study sessions every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm stressing this because this usually causes a major conflict when we do the time change. Arizona does not change the time. So then people start getting the time all messed up and not sure what time we start. But that's why we use the Eastern Standard Time at 7 p.m. just to make sure that it's consistent. And even though the time change happens, then people won't be coming in at different times. If there are any other questions, please feel free to just ask at this point. If
I got
not,
a
yes, Dr. Tao.
yeah, I got a question for Dr. Johnson.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
um, now that now you work at GCU, how do you navigate, the different hats you wear as a chair and as a content expert and as a research consultant? Because I feel that, is this
I'm
kind of
sorry, Dr. Tao. I'm laughing because Russell's getting ready to. I got a short answer. You ready?
yeah.
Dr. Tao, I just chase myself all the time. That's what I do. I don't balance the hats. I chase myself. And Dr. Singh, congratulations, because you were also not graduated the last time I saw you either. But Dr. Tao, there is
Yeah.
no such thing as balancing the hats. I just chase myself. That's what I do.
Well,
I,
can I add a comment to that?
sure.
That is a professional hazard of working in higher education. I tell Dr. Johnson all the time, the reason I can really relate to her is because I lived that life. So I can really empathize, understand every other thing that happens with that. Is because when you're working in that environment, you will always have more responsibilities than you will have time in the day. It just
Yes.
with the territory.
But Dr. Tawa, what I have learned in the last 6 months, and Demetria, I found the articles. I told you I was gonna get them. So give me 2 seconds. But Dr. Tawa, what I've learned in the last 6 months is God's true design is for us to let our rest lead our work. So lots of gardening. Lots and lots of gardening and playing in the dirt. Learning to say no and put things down. It's 5 years in now, so I feel comfortable in doing that. When you first get your doctorate and you get opportunities, you don't feel as comfortable saying no because you don't think you're going to be able to get as many opportunities. So you kind of dive in head first, which I wouldn't recommend anyone doing that. But then just knowing where I'm supposed to be. And so last year around this time, I literally was just looking at one of the memories. I was bugging my husband that I wanted to build a greenhouse. And I know you think this is not relevant, but it actually is. I was bugging him that I wanted to build a greenhouse. And the entire process of building that greenhouse helped me realize where I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to put down. And so now I don't teach as much as I was before. I only have one learner left right now because I'm a total mama bear as a chair. So when she's done, I'm going to stop chairing for about 6 months. I might pick it up again in 2026. But right now, I am trying to master being the type of research consultant where students and faculty members can thrive in what I give them. So I still chase myself because some days it's just like that. But I think if you would have asked me that question 5 years ago, I would have had a very imperfect, unrealistic answer. But today I would say resting, fueling my work. So here's what this looks like for me. Each morning I get up and there's a piece of paper right here and I write down all my different roles, and then I go outside and I play in the dirt and I do a lot of nothingness and I assess my gut. Where is the spirit telling me I'm overwhelmed? What do I need to give priority to first? Things like that. And then how do I need to communicate out in those different areas to the people that I touch so that they know what's going on with me? And then After I do that for about a good month, if one area is continuing to fall out the bottom, I have to think about whether or not I should be carrying that area still. So then I reach out, and more often than not, the folks that support me are like, no, you just need to put this down for a little bit. We'll be here when you get back. But if that happens multiple times, like in one area I just put down recently, I got that nudge every year for 3 years and I didn't listen to it and it got the best of me. So I would say that. In terms of my roles here at GCU, they all kind of melt together very well. There's a lot of skill that comes in one role over the other that transfers out into the other ones. So I hope that was a good way to answer the question. I
Yeah.
would say too, for new doctors, don't make the mistake that I made. Dr. Singhe and Dr. Tao, don't make the mistake that I made. Get somewhere for about 6 months and heal and rest from this part of the process first, unless some sort of door is opening where you have to step into it, but don't just jump in head first. Rest from it first. Welcome.
And is this true that as a research consultant you have between like 80 to 90 students, or does it vary, or does it depend on like which team you're on, like, because I noticed that a
If you've been a
chair.
research consultant for a while, it could get to that point because people are at different parts of the journey. Level 1, level 2, level 5, so on and so forth. It can get there. Having 80, 90 at one time, no, I wouldn't do it if I had 80 and 90 at one time. That's impossible. So cumulatively over time, yes. Doing 80 to 90 reviews at one time, no. I wouldn't do it. I'll just be honest with you. If they told me I had to do that, I'd be like, nope, y'all can keep that. That sounds like you never just stop. Demetria. Go ahead, Dr. Singer.
Yes, I had a question. So when you're working at DCU, I assume that you must be having some help, like when we were doctoral students, we were basically on our own. But in DCU, I'm sure you must be having a few people to work along with, like you are delegating some work to them, and then they return something to you, and then you work with that and send it across.
Dr. Singh, I don't know if it's just me or my headset, but your headset is making you sound really distant, so I'm having a hard time.
Oh, I'm saying you must be having a team to work with. Like you're not on your own alone, is it?
Oh yeah. No. And I will say that it's not just a team, it's up and across. We just work all very, very well together and back each other quite significantly. Now, in my regular day job where I am working through problems that happen in dissertation, there's no delegating out that work. I take care of that on my own. Yep, there's no delegating that out. All right, so before I forget, because I don't want Demetria or other folks kind of hanging around too long, I was able to find Stewardship, a biblical model for formation of scholars. So I'm putting that in the chat. So there is one. And then one more. All right. Now I feel better, Demetria, because that was gonna bug me all night. Oops, and it just gave you the same one. Hang on. That's the second one. Linda, something's going on with your volume. You're very welcome, Demetria. There's still something going on with your volume. Linda, we can't hear you. Tell your volume to stop being rude.
She's
Or
on.
just unmute yourself. Oh, you're very, very welcome.
Okay, if we don't have any other questions at this point, we would like to say thank you to Dr. Johnson and the members of the leadership team that are online. If does any of you have anything to add before we let Dr. Johnson go? Well, I take it from the silence that we don't have. Oh, Gwen, you about to say something?
No, I just wanted to thank Dr. Johnson for the presentation today.
You're very
And,
welcome, Gwen.
And thank all the participants that joined us today.
Yeah.
And their input.
I love her. Their end quote.
Okay. Well, with no further ado, I would like to say thank you. And again, I would like to encourage all new individuals joining us to go on to our web app and complete the application to become a member of the group. That way you would enjoy the benefits of the group and what we have to offer. And also try to come on Mondays or during our study sessions, so that if you have questions and things that you're stuck on, where we would be able to help you get some action items and some things that you need to do to get moving in the direction that you need for yourself. So unless we have any other questions, we would like to say thank you all for joining us and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
You're welcome, Marie.
I did have a question. We are till 6,
I
Say
don't
it
know what's
again.
going on with your mic, Dr. Singh. Something is going on with your microphone. You're really very hard to hear.
Yeah.
saying we are till 6 o'clock, aren't we?
So what we do is we always start at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. When we get into the fall and we fall back, Arizona does not fall back. So that's why we avoid using Arizona time, because Arizona is the only state in the nation that does not move back and forth. So what happens is a lot of people don't recognize that and they get confused if we use Arizona time. So we always use Eastern Standard Time for consistency, so that each person, no matter where they are, they come on at Eastern Standard Time.
So today, what time are we closing this?
Right now, it would be in the next half an hour.
Okay. Dr. Johnson, I sent you something in your
I
chat.
saw that. I saw that. We'll have to talk again so we don't keep everybody around nerding out about greenhouses and vermiculture.
So is it completed or you're still working on it?
Oh, it's complete. It's so complete that I've been chasing out a rat in the last 48 hours. We don't even want to talk about it. He wasn't there today, thank God. Leaders, do y'all need me to stick around for anything?
I don't
No,
think so.
I
Okay.
don't think so.
Okay.
Next Monday, we'll see you.
Yes, okay. Russell, you want to turn the recording off?
Yeah, let me stop.